Off-season report cards continue with Mikael Granlund, how he has become one of the most important players in the Predators roster, and is he going to continue to be a cornerstone moving forward as the Predators start to transition towards a younger lineup? Will he still have that sort of mentorship role going forward? It's interesting to see how the Preds are going to use him, plus lots of other NHL playoff action, some good, some bad. We'll get to all of it today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day every single day. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer and editor at ontheforecheck.com, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at ontheforecheck.com.
Well, I don't think we have a very good Western Conference Finals action that we thought we were going to have.
Yeah. How surprised are you by this?
I mean, on the paper, I really shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, Colorado is just so good, and Edmonton's goaltending has been so inconsistent. It is like riding a roller coaster that is on fire. So from that end, it really shouldn't be a surprise. But, given how the Oilers have played this playoffs, I thought maybe we would see them, kind of out-muscle the Avs in a way, like outscore them. Right. Kind of impose their scoring will on them, maybe, steal a game here or there and kind of make this a series. But, yeah, I mean, Colorado just looks above and beyond, anything we've seen them at this playoff series. Better than the Nashville series. And we all saw how that turned out for Nashville.
Yeah, Colorado just keeps getting better. The more they play, the better they are. And I'm with you. I thought, okay, the Oilers are going to make this a series because they're going to just produce so much offense, and Colorado's going to have to work to keep up with that. I just feel like the Avs have not even had to break a sweat this series. And it is surprising. I thought we were going to see, okay, these conference finals are going to be really, really interesting. These are going to be, take it to game 7 kind of finals. And here we are, the Avs are up 3-0. And there's a little piece of me that would feel better about Nashville if the Oilers also got swept.
Yeah. And,
I'm petty.
Yeah. Obviously. But it's interesting because, Pavel Francouz is stepping in the backup role to Darcy Kemper and is absolutely killing it. I thought a lot of people maybe thought, well, there's an in. Like, there's an in.
Yeah, that's true.
But he's done extremely well. The defense in front of, whoever the goaltender has been for Colorado has been superb. Edmonton is, looked a little bit out of sorts. They've had a couple spurts here and there, but, McDavid and Draisaitl aren't having that consistent sort of pressure that, they had in the first 2 rounds where they just always seem to be buzzing. Losing Evander Kane for this next game is going to be monstrous.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to hurt the Oilers, which is funny because I don't know that anybody going into the playoffs felt like a key to the Oilers' success was going to be the offense produced by Evander Kane. You would think McDavid, Draisaitl, but Kane has 17 points in the postseason. I mean, he has 13 goals. I mean, he's really been doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And now he's out after a hit that, oh my goodness, hockey Twitter, simmer down, hockey Twitter. But, he had a hit on Nazem Kadri, who has a broken thumb, is going to miss the rest of this series. And of course, the brouhaha online began. But that was, 1 game suspension for Kane, 5-game misconduct. No, he had a major. He did not get a misconduct in the game, but did have a hearing and got a suspension. So, lots of drama.
What do you think about the discourse surrounding all of that? Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
It looked like just a play you would see in the regular season that would get punished, to be fair.
Right.
You know, that would definitely result in probably a 1, maybe 2 game suspension if this
Right.
was in the regular season. So from that end, absolutely fair. The sort of the ban Evander Kane for the rest of the playoffs takes that have come out. ESPN, or not ESPN, USA Today, with their second hot takey piece with a play involving Nazem Kadri, saying this is disgusting and it should be, you know, Evander Kane should not play another minute more of the postseason. And from that end, it's like, let's back up a little bit, you know.
Yes. Yeah. And look, I'm not a huge off ice Evander Kane fan. I think there's a lot there. But when you're talking about on ice thing, the part that has exhausted me from this Kadri Kane hit and the ensuing drama is this narrative that, well, Kadri is a dirty player, so he deserves it. Like, this is hockey karma.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, y'all.
The
Like,
Tim
you know,
Peel
the St.
tweet.
Louis fan. Oh, why? Why? Ban that man. Ban the man.
Why is that
we
man
didn't want to hear him on the hot mic. Yes, like we don't want to hear his tweets, but that whole, you know, and some of the St. Louis Blues fans are like, hey, you know, he deserves it for his hit on Binnington, and like, y'all,
it's hockey at all.
It wasn't at all. And I think stop with this. We're going to hit dirty players harder. Just play hockey. Just play hockey. Stop with all this 8th grade girl narrative drama stuff and stop with the he's a dirty player, he deserves what he gets. No, you know, a penalty is a penalty. I don't care if you're, you know, hitting Jesus on skates or if you're hitting Evander Kane on skates. A penalty is a penalty. Yeah. So I hate that narrative that I saw about, well, you know what? Kadri had it coming. He's getting, you know, he's just gotten what he deserves. Just stop that and play hockey. You are grown-ups. Be grown-ups.
Yeah.
That part is exhausting to me.
Yeah, for sure. And just the other stuff Nazem Kadri has had to face this postseason as well.
Oh,
you know, I'm sure that is. But yeah, it sucks for Colorado losing Kadri because he has been a big part of this postseason as well. You know, they did fine the rest of the game without him, but you know, that is a concern regardless of whether you play the Rangers or Tampa Bay when you lose some of that depth. So that is going to be interesting. Speaking of the other series, Tampa's back in.
What's going on? Yeah, and in dramatic fashion. You know, I'll full disclosure, I was kind of thrown that the Rangers were up 2-0. I really felt like Tampa Bay was going to dominate this series. They have not. Rangers went up 2-0 in game 3. The Lightning came back and then scored the game-winning goal with like 41 seconds left, which I'm like I'm here for the, you know, building up of the drama in that sense. But I really felt like the Lightning would be better at handling the Rangers. So hopefully this will light a fire under the Lightning and we'll get more of a series in the East, but I don't know. I mean, the Rangers are surprising to me.
I think they came in as one of the more underrated good teams in this postseason. I mean, a lot of people were writing them off and just saying, oh, they have nothing behind, you know, Igor Shesterkin. He's the reason they're as good as they are. You look and it's, you know, they kind of looked that way for the first round for a little bit. And then, you know, the offense woke up. Micah Zibanejad, if not for Shesterkin, if the Rangers win, he's the Conn Smythe probably right now. And then their depth, you know, the kid line, you know, Lafreniere, Kakko, and you know, Philip Hedl are all sort of woke up and are kind of having the playoffs of their lives right now. And the Rangers kind of, you know, it has that sort of, you know, the perfect storm vibe that, teams
Mm-hmm.
like, the Blues back in 2019 had,
Oh,
to an
yes,
extent, us
100%.
back in 2017. Go back and like the Bruins and Kings, some of their Stanley Cup runs where, they just sort of everything started clicking at once. Everybody got hot at the right time, and all of a sudden, boom,
Yes.
you're a cup contender. That's kind of the vibe for
Yep.
the Rangers. I do think they
Oh,
may be looking at the end of the series, looking back at that 2-0 lead and saying, here's where the series turned against us, because now that
yes.
Tampa's back in it, Tampa is back in it.
Yes, this is a team you do not want to get rolling down the hill, because they will build up momentum and they'll be pissed while they do it. So I think this is going to be a great series. I would not be surprised to see the Oilers out of it in 4 games. I think the Lightning and Rangers could go 7. But, we'll see.
If you're the Colorado Avalanche, who would you rather play?
If I was the Colorado Avalanche right now, I'd be like, bring on both teams from the East, put them on the ice at the same damn time. And I really feel like nobody can beat Colorado. I would like to see the Lightning in Colorado, because I think that would be maybe a more dynamic series. So that's still what I'm pulling for. I'm still pulling for the Lightning and the Avs in the finals. I just don't think anybody is as ready to lift the Stanley Cup as the Colorado Avalanche are.
Yeah. If the Lightning get there, though, that is going to be a fun as hell
Yes.
watch. And that's what I literally think can go either way. Like that is a pure toss up. It would be fun as hell to see the Lightning get there and lose, just so Corey Perry has his third losing finals appearance with his third different team.
If that does not make you root for the Avs, nothing will.
Yeah. That would just be a funny as hell thing. So we'll have to see how that goes. We still have Preds talk to get to.
Mm-hmm.
That includes our Mikael Granlund report card, who is now a world champion. So
I love it.
We'll talk about his Preds season, where we see him fitting in with this team moving forward. But first, wanted to mention today's show brought to you by Athletic Greens and their product AG1. AG1 is a product I've used pretty much every day, mainly because they sent me a free little tin of it. I was very skeptical of it at first. I've said this a lot. Wasn't a huge fan of green powder. Started taking it, every day just for giggles, just to, promote the brand a little bit better. And I was surprised, number one, how good it tastes. This isn't just some like green grass flavored nonsense. It tastes great. I enjoy drinking it every day. And then I noticed the health benefits. I started feeling a little bit lighter, more mental focus throughout the day. I wasn't craving that 2:00 nap like I always do while working from home. I had focus throughout the day, and a lot of it's due to AG1. So what is the stuff? With one delicious scoop, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, aging, pretty much everything. The best part is it costs less than $3 a day, which is cheaper than your little coffee habit you guys probably have. And it's cheaper than getting all of the different supplements yourself. So instead, you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Well, it is Preds report card season. We have done this with a number of Preds big name players so far. We've done some on Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, and Matt Duchene. So if you want to go back and watch some of our previous episodes and get caught up, you can do that. Just find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So go back and listen to what we had to say about those guys. Today, it is Mikael Granlund. Number 64
Granny
in
apples.
your programs, probably number 2 or 3 in your hearts, but we still love Mikael Granlund.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, interesting season for Granlund, Anne.
Yeah, this was a really good season for Granlund. And as good as it wasn't his best, which just is incredible to think about. Mikael Granlund probably wasn't the name on the tip of everybody's tongue as you look back on this Predator season, but if you look closely, he's probably more of a key to the Predators' success that they had this season than a lot of other players. He was on a line with Forsberg and Duchene. We all know what their season looked like. Both of them became 40 goal scorers. Both of them were competing for the franchise record in goals. And Mikael Granlund, huge part of that. He had 53 assists this season, and that was his career high in assists, 64 points, which was actually not his career high in points. He had 69 in 16 and 17 with Minnesota. But, a very solid year from Mikael Granlund. And he's one of those players where I think what he is best at doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, but I think you can see his impact when you look at the players that he plays with as well.
I feel like Mikael Granlund has kind of become your prototypical second line player, like exactly what you want to be out of your second line player. It's probably a concern that he's on the first line. But if there's
that.
Yeah, but if the Predators were to like reshuffle, he is like the depth guy. Like he is the guy that, and I'm trying to find like a good comparison. And he's not the same style as this player, but I think of like what Patrice Bergeron is to Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak, kind of that support guy, but isn't going to like, be the number one center racking up like 100 points every year. He's that guy. And I think he does where he excels is a little bit of stuff off the score sheet. Like you see him, making a lot of high IQ plays, even without the puck.
Yes.
His positioning is through the roof. He uses his body to kind of, open plays. He's a really good puck handler, just really good hockey IQ. And that's something that doesn't always show up on the score sheet. Because, he may not be one of the last 2 guys to touch the puck before whoever scores it goes in, but he's always there, kind of engaging the play.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think the value that he brings to the team is evidenced by the fact that when some of the players were kind of struggling a little bit, Granlund is one that Coach Hines kind of shuffles in with some people to see if he can kind of get a spark going. The second line has been a real challenge for the Predators all season long. And Granlund in there, I wonder as we look ahead how much somebody like Granlund could impact a young player like Tomasino. We didn't see a ton of it this season, but I really wonder if with his hockey IQ, with how quickly he reads the ice, and kind of you see some of that blooming in Tomasino, whether Granlund is going to kind of unlock some things for yet another player like Tomasino down the line, like I think he did for Forsberg and Duchene.
Yeah, and that's going to kind of be interesting the next couple of years, and where we're going to talk about, where we see Granlund maybe next year and beyond that. Granlund's a guy, a lot of people had their eyes on him before this year because he's kind of bet on himself, not once, but twice. Remember, he took that 1-year deal in Nashville when a lot of people thought he was gone, and had, a so-so year last year. I mean, he was arguably one of the best forwards on the Predators roster, even though his stats might not have shown it.
Mhm.
Wound up hitting free agency again. There was, there was a couple of reports up to the hour in which he signed that said
Yes.
he probably wasn't coming back, that he was going to sign somewhere else. And then lo and behold, he comes back on a 4-year deal and winds up having his best season in years, a career
Mhm.
high in assists, as you mentioned earlier. So from that end, yeah, it's kind of refreshing to see the season Granlund had, given that I do think he was a little bit overlooked by some of the Preds faithful the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think he was one that they felt like they could kind of do okay without. And hopefully, the way he played this season and sort of the role that he played for the team this season. And, there were ups and downs for this, Nashville team, but a lot of the ups he was involved in. And so, he's here 4 years. He signed a $20 million contract. And I think he's worth every penny. Now, I know a lot of people go back to the whole Granlund Fiala trade and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And you talked about that on one of our previous episodes too. But I really feel like Mikael Granlund is such a high value. Would love to see him. That's reckless.
Yeah.
Would love to see him score some more goals himself. But what he facilitates is so valuable.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because only 11 goals for him this season. That is the lowest of his career since 2015, when he was, kind of still finding his footing with the Minnesota Wild. Is that a concern to you, Anne? That maybe the pucks that he's shooting aren't really going in the net? Or do you think the Predators are content with him just sort of being, the playmaker setup guy?
He definitely has value as the playmaker setup guy, but I think you do want a little bit more direct offensive production from Mikael Granlund. And, maybe that can come on the power play a little bit more. But, again, when you're playing with Forsberg and Duchesne were hot consistently through the season, it's a little bit hard to demand that Mikael Granlund do more and take away opportunity from them. So I understand that. But I do think it's something to think about. Like, Granny, we want to have more than 11 goals from you this season. So to me, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. This is somebody that, not only is a great facilitator, but, let's score yourself. Be a little greedy.
Yeah, and he's proven he can do it. I mean, he has 26
Mhm.
goals in a season before, so it's not like, this is sort of the player he is. We know there's a little bit more in there. To be fair, part of it may also be due to his changing style.
Yeah.
We've mentioned that a lot with John Hines as head coach, how Granlund's game has kind of evolved into, sort of that dynamic top end playmaker, into more of a, kind of two-way support guy. Although, 54 assists this year certainly looks really, really good on him as a
Yes.
playmaker. But, he's not, the same type of player he maybe if he comes back and, scores a little bit more, some of his shots going in. His shooting percentage wasn't that great this year. Only 9.4% of his shots went in, considering he shot 17% last year. So obviously there's more there. I just don't know if that's going to be a consistent thing that we see.
Yeah, and I think a lot is going to go into what they do with a second line and how they then use Granlund in whatever second line they formulate next season. They're going to have to address that kind of empty space in the Predators lineup. So we'll see kind of what they do with Granlund. We're also going to talk a little bit about some of his best plays of the season coming up in just a second. But first, of course, want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports information. You can find all the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's basketball championship matchup, which has been really fun watching, the NHL Hockey Conference Finals, Major League Baseball, and, of course, the latest fighting news from MMA and UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today, or you can use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet online, where the game starts.
So let's talk about Mikael Granlund next season. Obviously, the line mates on that second line. Yeah. So who's there next year? We've talked about maybe Phil Tomasino kind of stepping up and being, maybe the guy to watch next year. Do you still see that?
I would love to see that. And I would love to see whether it is Ryan Johansson or Mikael Granlund. I think if you consistently put Phil Tomasino with one of them, and I would lean towards Granlund just because sort of they seem to see the ice very similar and kind of at the same speed. I would love to see what that could unlock for Tomasino's game, because I think that's part of the gifting of Mikael Granlund. They are going to have to do something else. Look, I just don't get the Cunnin thing. I don't know what is going to happen there with the second line. They need to do something. And I don't know if they feel like, he just had a bad year. I don't know. But I do think whatever they do, Granlund is going to be a valuable part of kind of bringing to life some things. Now, and again, I look at, is Granlund's season next season going to look different if Philip Forsberg isn't here? We talked about that with Matt Duchene.
That's the X.
Is it going to look different? Yeah. I mean, there are so many players whose season and whose performances are wrapped up in Philip Forsberg, and Mikael Granlund is one of them. So kind of feels like a lot is hanging in the balance until Nashville settles the Forsberg issue.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like that is going to happen anytime soon from what
we just keep waiting.
Yeah.
We just keep waiting.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to wait a little bit longer. I agree with Tomasino. I think they see the same ice, kind of the same way, and I wouldn't mind seeing Ellie Tolvanen sort of with them, just because those two have had a lot of chemistry. Although Ellie Tolvanen, what happens to him? That's sort of another question that winds up, coming into.
That's a whole podcast there. Like,
it is a whole other podcast, because we do have more player grades coming up, and both Cunnin and Tolvanen are going to be discussed. Looking back, Anne, who is your player grade? Or what is your player grade for this entire season? What are you giving to Mikael Granlund?
Mikael Granlund, I think, is underrated. He is the kid that sits like 2/3 of the way back in class and doesn't say anything, and everybody thinks he's a C student, and then they find out he's like salutatorian when they all graduate. That's Mikael Granlund. But I'm going to go ahead and give him a B+. And the only reason I'm not giving him an A is goal production. Like 11 goals. Like, I know we can do better. And again, some of that is situational. If he is back with Forsberg and Duchene, he may not go back to being a 20 goal scorer, but it would be really nice to see him kind of produce more offensively. So I'm going B+, but it's a B+ with like a smiley face. So
a B+ with a little golden star off to the side.
A golden star, yes. What about you? How do you feel like his season went? Where do you grade him?
Well, I feel like, in a lot of ways, he sort of was one of the Preds' most important players. Obviously, he set a career best in assists this year. It would have, I believe, tied Paul Kariya's record. Might have to double check on that for assists in the season. Obviously, it doesn't matter now because Yossi shattered it.
Yes.
All things considered, I would give Granlund an A-, not an A+.
Okay.
I think right on that fringe of low A, high B, so a solid A-. I think he's done a lot. He was an important player on the Preds penalty kill, which, for a while was very much improved.
Yes.
I think he was one of the Preds' more reliable defensive forwards. He's a guy that you could put out there in any situation. I agree. The only reason he's not A+ is because I would have liked to see him score more goals. That's obviously something we talked about a few minutes ago. That's kind of my only qualm about him this year.
Yeah. And, looking ahead, there's, just thinking through what would next season look like. I would love to see Granlund with, in an ideal world, Tolvanen and Tomasino. And there, we had glimpses of that, but I feel like he really is that mentor leader on ice for some of these players. And, I think John Hines feels the same way, that he's kind of a spark guy. He's a good on ice leader. So if he consistently could play with some younger players like that, I really feel like he could do some amazing things. But again, do you take him away from Forsberg and Duchesne if Forsberg is back? Who knows? Who even knows?
Yeah, or is Ryan Johansson, kind of that guy? Because Ryan Johansson had some pretty good success with those two as well. So might be an interesting offseason, depending on what happens there. Yeah.
Could we just settle it now, people?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that is still a thing moving forward. And of course, whenever Forsberg news does pop up, we will have it for you on the Locked On Predators podcast. Any rumors, reports, any rumblings whatsoever, we will be here to talk about it, process it, and help you break it down. But we still have more report cards to get to before then. We got Ryan Johansson coming up. We also got Matthias Ekholm. And we'll do a deep dive on the goalies. UC Saros, David Riddick, and Connor Ingram. That's coming up as well. And then some of the other ones we will kind of grade as a group. Cunnin Tolvanen, we'll grade the herd line all together. Colton Sissons just got a few points in the Selke Trophy nomination. So there's something to discuss moving forward. So be sure you're tuning in all summer to the Locked On Predators podcast. And of course, we'll chat about anything related to the NHL playoffs as well. Until then, Ann, where can the people find your work online?
You can find my work at ontheforecheck.com, and you can find me on Twitter at AnnK_Mama on Ice.
I'm Nick Morgan. You can find my work at ontheforecheck.com. Follow me on Twitter at _NSMorgan. Also be sure to follow the show at LO_Predators. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know what you would grade Mikael Granlund. What grade would you give him this season? Yeah, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. That's going to do it for us today on the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back tomorrow with more Preds talk.